thanks for joining me today. So I know it's been a long time since my last vlog, like 6 months. I hadn't quite realised it'd been quite as long as it has been since my last video. Time just seems to have run away from me this year. I had done some work on my flat earlier this year. As you can see, the shelves behind me are probably looking a little different than the last video you saw. I did decide to do all of that myself, so it took a fair bit longer than it would have done if a professional had done it, but I'm really pleased with how that all turned out. But once that was all done and tidied up, the motivation to vlog just kind of seemed to leave me. I went for a walk and didn't come back. So it's been a little while since I've kind of last been motivated to get in front of the camera. I mean, it's not just on YouTube here, but also my blog, my gram, everything's taken a bit of a downturn of late. That doesn't mean to say that I've not been sewing stuff and making things. I have been. Nothing's going to stop me doing that. But the sharing part of the process has kind of taken a bit of a nosedive, I'm afraid. So because I've got lots to share with you guys, 6 months worth of stuff to share with you, in fact, I've split all of that into categories instead of months. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys all the dresses and jumpsuits that I've been making over this time. There are quite a few. So grab a cup of tea, piece of cake, a couple of biscuits, and let's get going. So this is the first thing that I'm sharing with you guys today. It's one of my most recent makes. It is the McCall's 7969 dress. You know, that dress that everyone's been making recently. It's, you know, that oversized, gathered, what they call a buffet dress now apparently. And it's, you know, really been making the rounds on social media. Everyone seems to be making it. I have to say, everyone's version of this always looks great, and I think that's why it's been so popular. I think it really suits the style and trends that everyone seems to be drawn towards at the moment. Things that are loose fitted, gathers, the puff sleeve, everything seems to kind of come together in the best way with this dress. So I've made mine out of a cheesecloth that I got from the New Craft House as one of their fabric brand ambassadors. So this was gifted to me free of charge. I chose, so yeah, as part of the brand ambassador program, I'm able to choose whatever fabric I want from their store, and this was the one that caught my eye. I always like the idea of light, gauzy fabrics, ones that let light through, especially for makes like this where they're quite voluminous, because it means that you can see more of your body, your silhouette, without so it doesn't feel so heavy, which I thought would work really well for a dress like this. So I made the size medium, and I took quite a bit off the length of it to make it calf length on me. The skirt is just a big rectangle, so I literally just trimmed that to the height that I wanted to. The bodice I shortened by about a centimetre all the way around. I could have got away without shortening it at all, but I like a cropped kind of empire waist on me. The sleeve is interesting. So this, it's got this kind of faux wrap bodice, so it crosses over on the top, but that is kind of secured down into the skirt, and then it's got these lovely raglan sleeves with the gather going all the way through the top up here, and then gathers through the sleeve as well, and that's just finished with a little cuff here, and then bias binding along the neckline. The only thing that I wish I had done with this dress that I didn't do was shorten the sleeve. I was like, it's a 3/4 length sleeve, it should be fine, but actually it leaves that kind of an awkward length on me, and I could have done with that being maybe 2 centimetres shorter, and to make it actually a more comfortable length. So every now and then they just kind of look like this when I'm moving my arms in certain ways, and they just look like I've got really short arms. It's a bit of an odd one. It's one of those things that won't stop me from wearing an outfit, by the way. It's just one of those things to bear in mind that for future or other versions of this dress that I might want to change. So I'll give you a quick tour and you can see what that looks like all the way around. As you can see, I am wearing something underneath it. I made a slip dress to go with this. So the slip dress I made using the Sorja pattern, which is in the new named clothing pattern book, which is called Building the Pattern. The Sorja is a camisole / dress pattern that they have. All the patterns in that book are designed to be hat, I want to say. It's all about using the same pattern to make multiple styles, basically. So with the Sorja, for example, you can make a camisole, you can make a dress, I think there's a skirt thing you can do with it, and this kind of like half wrap bodice thing as well. All sorts of things. It's quite an interesting book, although I haven't had the opportunity or time to really explore it further. I will link to it below if anyone's interested in looking at that further though. So after the success of this dress, I actually decided to make another one. So I made a second McCall's 7969 dress, which if you've been following me for a while, you may say that that's very unlike me. I'm not one to use patterns multiple times, not because I don't like styles or things like that, but I like to keep my sewing interesting. It's what keeps my brain engaged, all of that stuff, and new patterns is a good way of doing that for me. Obviously it's not for everybody, but of recent times I've been trying to be really good and reusing patterns, especially where I know that I really like a certain look, certain style of dress, top, pants, whatever. So I decided to make a second version of this dress, and I had the perfect fabric for it. So I had this piece of cotton gingham that I got from Sew Me Sunshine a while ago. And yes, you know, it's lovely. I think it's a 3/8. No, I'm trying to think of the right measurement of the gingham, but you know what, I'm not going to remember it. I will link to the gingham down below though. Anyway, I had this perfect coloured gingham that I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with, and I was like, yes, you know what, this is going to be a lovely fabric for this dress. So it is heavier than the cheesecloth that I used for the previous version, and I was a little concerned that it would feel a bit big and a bit heavy, but actually it's worked really well because it's an opaque fabric. I don't have to worry about lining it or wearing something underneath it, and it meant that I could put pockets in it, which I didn't do for my last version. So with the cheesecloth version, because of how sheer the fabric was, I didn't want to put pockets in it because you'd be able to see the outlines of the pockets. Nothing wrong with that, but that's personal preference. But with this one, I decided to get the pockets in there. I also shortened the sleeves, as I said I was going to in the last one, and actually that is a much more comfortable length on me. Some might say that this looks crazy and like a picnic blanket. That is what my other half likes to call it. But you know what, I love it. I use the bias binding, obviously it's cut on the bias, so with something like a gingham like this, it creates really lovely effects of having that binding in that kind of diagonal cross section instead. But otherwise, everything else is the same. I made the same size and everything, and you know what, I would be happily make more of these dresses. They're super comfy and they're kind of really on trend at the moment, and quite frankly I like being able to, you know, be comfortable and lounge around in these dresses, because let's face it, that is what I'm doing most of the time at the moment. So this next dress I'm sharing with you is the Skye Sundress, which is the new release from Tilly and the Buttons. It's just a really simple sundress with kind of skinny kind of straps here, a gently pleated bodice, an empire line cut, and a gathered skirt. I made kind of the simplest version of it when I tested it, in that I kept it with just the kind of simple gathered long skirt, and I avoided the ties, which is an optional thing at the shoulder. And I've made this in a kind of really lovely viscose that I got from Simply Fabrics. This was from a while back, I think last summer, and I hadn't just found a use for it, so it seemed like a perfect option for a pattern test. It's got these little mustard tiger print all over it. I really love the print. So the pattern itself is really simple. They've designed it to be for like proper beginners, so no darks or anything like that. The pleats are really kind of straightforward on the front, and as I said, just gathers all the way along. There are pockets, although the original sample for this meant the pockets are just a tad bit too low for me, so I think I'm either actually going to gonna have to either move them or just sew them up so there's no pockets at all, because that's really not functional as they are at the moment. It's quite snug on my high, what we call a high bust, this higher area up here, which does allow it for it to sit quite nicely against my chest, which is quite nice. The whole neckline and the armholes are finished with a bias binding. Personally, that is one of my least favourite ways of finishing these edges on a style like this, because you've got these quite severe curves around these areas and around the underarm of the armhole. I do find that sewing bias binding to finish an edge like this is always a little bit trickier. It's fiddly, it's hard to get bias to sit really well on curves if you're new to it. Even myself, as quite an experienced sewer by now, you know, really struggle to kind of get this to really lie flat. You can see here where it's kind of puckering a little bit. So if I made this again, I would probably just fully line the bodice. I think it would be a much simpler way of achieving the same result, but it would look a lot neater and cleaner. That is of course my personal preference, and you might find that using bias binding to finish the edges of a garment like this works really well for you, and I just haven't quite got the knack for it just yet. I'll give you a little twirl, you can see what it looks like all the way around. I'll try to get my hair out the way properly this time as well. So you can see where the length is on me as well, hopefully you can anyway. So it's coming down to mid-calf. I actually sewed what was supposed to be the knee length version of this dress, and that is where it actually finished on me. So I do think they adjusted it for the final pattern release, but yeah, I think they were designing for giants at the time. So I've got not one but two of these jumpsuits to share with you. So this is a hack of the Closet Core Patterns Amy jumpsuit, which I've made once before. And I thought it was high time that I tried to make it again. So I remember there was a couple of things I wasn't happy with their Amy jumpsuit, and that was the length of the body on me. So I took out a bit of length in the middle, in the waist area. And I also noticed that the straps on the original version just kept falling off, like it kept doing this on me, and I was constantly fiddling with them and adjusting them. So I did just re-alter the whole neckline of this one, just to bring the straps in slightly. I've made skinnier straps on this than the original, and of course I've made it short, so it's a romper playsuit type thing as opposed to a full-length jumpsuit. What other changes did I make? I also put in a centre back seam instead of having the side seams. So the original version has a side seam up on the left side and the bodice is lined, so it's lined to here. I decided to just put a facing in and put a centre back seam, which you'll be able to see if I turn around like so. So I've put in a lapped centre back zipper up the centre back here. Personally, I find those easier for a jumpsuit in this style. I've never been a huge fan of side zips anyway, so I just made that alteration just to make things a little bit easier for me and just more suited to my preferences more than anything. I've kept the pockets in it like so, and for the short I cut it so that it was about, I think, 12 centimeters from the crotch, and it allowed me to have some wiggle room for the hem as well. So if anyone else is planning to chop it off, aim for around there for this kind of length playsuit. Part of the reasons why I made so many changes to it was because I didn't actually have a lot of fabric to work with. I really wanted to use this fuchsia linen that I got from Sony Sunshine, but it was a remnant piece. So I think I had just over a metre, I think I'm about a metre and 30 centimeters for this, and to be honest I fitted this well into that space actually. It worked much better than I had ever anticipated, in fact. One of the other reasons why I wanted to make this particular playsuit and in this particular colour is because I thought it would be a really good roller skating outfit. So I've been learning to roller skate, and I'm talking kind of old school quad roller skates, and part of any new hobby is making cool outfits to go with it. So I thought that this really quite worked for roller skating. It meant that if I fell over, I wouldn't be flashing anybody like I would be if I was wearing a dress, and just keeps them cute. So I like that pink jumpsuit so much that I decided to make another one. And again with another piece of remnant fabric. This is the leopard print viscose fabric from Mind the Maker, which again I got another remnant piece of. So I think this had just over a metre again of it, 1.2, 1.3 again. This is the perfect pattern to be using when you don't have a lot of fabric and you want to make something that's cute and summery and just really kind of works for me. I decided not to put pockets into this one, just to keep it a bit smoother here. And I've got an invisible zip in the centre back instead of the lapped zip, as you can see. I am concerned that it's come off a little bit Flintstones. Like I could wear this with, you know, my hair up and a bow in it, and I might look like I'm going to a Flintstones party. That is one of the problems with leopard print of this scale, unfortunately. I mean, I still kind of like it, it's still cute. I think I need to be a little bit more careful with my fabric choices in the future. So this next dress I'm showing you is one that is unfortunately one of my least favourite things I've made recently. Not that there's anything that's hugely wrong with the dress itself, it just didn't come out like I was expecting it to. So this is a hack of the Rhea dress from Tammy Handmade. I've made that dress, the original pattern, once before. And loved it, and I love like a little strappy sundress, so I thought I would use the pattern again to make something a little bit different. And what I wanted to do was make a kind of maxi length tiered version with crossover straps, because again I don't like it when straps fall off my shoulders, and just having that crossover just means that I get the look that I want and they stay in place. And so what I did was I made the front and the tiers kind of exactly like planned, but the back I changed the shape slightly in order to allow for the straps to cross over more easily. And what's come out is this. So you can see that naturally there's like a gathering here. If I pull it out wide, you can see what it was supposed to look like so. So I had it so the bodice was kind of shaped so it's kind of curving inwards, so the strap would attach to those points. But I hadn't taken into account the looseness of the dress itself and the fact that it would want to kind of still sit as closely to the body as possible in terms of where it hangs. And what that's then left with, so that's in terms of where the fabric hangs from the straps themselves, because that's where the most weight is. And that's why I'm left with this bit here, is that where the straps end up naturally falling against me, just gets that extra bit of fabric in the middle, and you know what, it really annoys me. I get that it probably actually doesn't look that bad, and that it's still functional and it's still a lovely fabric and it feels lovely and swishy and summery and all those good things. And I love the print and the colour of the fabric as well. So this is a satin from Semi Sunshine, ex-designer, no longer in stock I'm afraid. I think I got the last bit of it. And yeah, I'm not in love with the final garment, which I hate to say. I do need to have a good think about what I want to do. I've been trying to leave it and hope that I love it more later on, which does sometimes happen with stuff I've made, is that the kind of bad feelings that are associated with the making process can sometimes cloud my judgment of it. and then once I've given it time and those bad feelings have faded away, I like the garment more after that. So I'm hoping for that to still happen. My last resort though, if that doesn't happen, is that I might just chop off the bodice and have it as a kind of tiered skirt, which I think would also work really well. I might just, you know, put in the kind of elasticated waistband into the top. A little bit of a cop out, I know, but sometimes you've just got to make it work. So this dress is one of 2 Nina Lee Park Lane dresses that I've made in the last few months. So the Park Lane dress, which I'll show you a quick picture of here, is one which has been around for quite a while now. It's a pattern that I'd always kind of passed over, overlooked slightly, just as something that seems a bit, you know, I could probably make that myself, like draft it myself, etc, etc. Of course you never do. And in one of Nina's recent birthday sales, I decided just to get it. There was a few things that I thought I could use the pattern for, and I thought, you know what, let's save myself some time and effort and just buy it. And I'm glad I did, because I really, really like it. It's one of those things where I didn't realise what I was missing until you had it. So this first of the Park Lane dresses that I made was one where I replicated this Simone washer dress. I'll show you a quick picture of. This was a Simone washer for H&M collaboration that happened a few months ago. I really loved a few of the dresses, but I'm still not kind of shopping. Also, it all sold out really fast. I think even if I was prepared to spend the money on it, I still don't think I would have gotten it. Anyway, I thought, you know, why not try to make something similar? It's not out of my wheelhouse. I could definitely look at doing that, so I decided to just go for it. So I used the Park Lane as the base for it. I kept the bodice as is, and I've actually used the sleeve from the Park Lane as well. So I kept the ruffle sleeve and the little puffed bit underneath it, and cuffs all the same as with the original pattern. It's just where the skirt starts, where everything starts to differ. All of this lower half I just drafted myself from scratch. So the skirt is a kind of a big gathered skirt that is curved at the hem. So hopefully you can see that a little bit more clearly here. So you can see where that curves around. And I've got this big frill attached that goes into the side seam and around the front hem, and a separate frill that goes along the back hem as well. And I've attached some straps into the side seam. So it's just some long waist ties to help just cinch everything in afterwards, just because I felt like it needed a bit of shape with that. So I'll give you a twirl and you can see what it looks like all the way around. So it just has the button in the back neck. I've actually left it without any other closures because it was loose enough to just get over my head. So you can just see the kind of button at the back there. Okay, so it is a look and a half. Okay, I don't know if this is something that I would just, you know, wear to the shops. It's that kind of high-end, high fashion. It's really a look slash could also be a kind of communion dress type thing. It's landing me in a really weird place. So I'm actually not sure when the best time to wear this is. There's a part of me that just says wear it with some trainers or some chunky boots and just go into the world, and that other part of me that says it looks like you're trying to look like you're about 10 years old. I'm not sure which part is winning right now, but we'll see. I do love how it's turned out though. I love that I found a way to make something that looks so similar to the original. I do wish that my fabric was more similar to the original, because I think that the broderie anglaise that they use is just beautiful, that kind of large scale floral print. What I did use for this was actually a fabric that I've had in my stash for a really long time. It was actually passed down to me from my mum, who bought loads of the stuff. I think there was a fault in it and she got a really good deal on a really large bolt of it, because there ended up being like 8 meters of it and I've barely used a fraction of that. So it's got a really lovely kind of fine broderie anglaise on it. Yeah, I'm sure I will use much more of it in the future. At least I hope so. But that's going to be there for another decade or so. Who knows? Well, it'll get used eventually. So this is the second of the Park Lane dresses that I've made. It's another hack of the original pattern, although a little bit more similar to it. I've kept the bodice and the skirt the same in this case, although I've added an extra frill onto the bottom, and I've changed the sleeve entirely so that it's got this big puff there, which I am just living for. I love a big sleeve at the moment. The fabric that I use is a viscose lawn that I got from Semi Sunshine. There's something about the Semi Sunshine website that just suckers me in, and I always end up buying loads of fabric when I'm on there. I've really got to try to resist going on that website too much, because there's always something there that I want. And so I really love how this dress turned out. It's given me, you know, that kind of Rixo, Ganni kind of vibes, you know, the kind of person who would wear this dress, would wear it with trainers, a big headband and a pearl handbag, and be going out for lunch with her girlfriends and stuff all the time. Not that that is my life by any means, but I do like how this dress makes me feel. It's just fun and bright and just full of life, and I am loving it. I'll give you a proper twirl so you can see how it looks all the way around as well. So my trick with getting a sleeve this puffy is to add a layer of silk organza underneath the sleeve head. So I've got, don't know if I can twist it out here in fact, probably not. The sleeve is it's quite snug on me. So I've got the top half of the sleeve, so top half of the sleeve head from about here. I have underlined it with a piece of silk organza. Silk organza is something that's really light and airy, but also kind of crisp and bouncy. So it adds nothing to the weight of it, but that bounciness just helps to hold that puff up. So if you really want that kind of princess look, that's what I would recommend. I did go over all of that in a tutorial video that I did for the online sewing weekend a couple of months ago, which I will upload separately as well. So if you are interested in sleeve hacks and things like that, keep an eye out for that video coming up your way soon. So this last dress I'm sharing with you is the Bertie dress from Seamwork. Now I got a Seamwork subscription last year. I got an annual one because it was like mega on sale, and I thought, you know what, that seems like a really good deal. And I downloaded loads of patterns, and I've actually not used very many of them, and I think this is one of the first ones that I used. So the Bertie dress is a shirt dress which has a cinched in waist. The original actually asked for elastic here, which I wasn't keen about, and I switched that out for a drawstring instead. It's got nice long sleeves that finish with a tie at the wrist, and is this kind of like knee length, calf length dress. I've made this out of a viscose that was from Stoff Stil. It was called Stoff Stil at the time, although now it has been rebranded as Self-Made. I know buying stuff from the EU is, you know, a little bit hit and miss still, and so have a look at that website at your own risk, but I will link to it down below. So the only adjustments besides the drawstring that I made with this dress was to lower the neckline just a touch as well. So I always worry, especially with seamwork patterns for some reason, that they look a little bit dowdy. They're always like that kind of little bit simple, they look a bit homemade. That sounds really harsh, but that's just a feeling that I get from them, and not that they are in any way like that, but I thought I'd just try to kind of edge it up just a little bit. So I've lowered the neckline just a touch. The drawstring waist area I've obviously just shortened as well. So what I have done in this case, you were supposed to attach elastic to the waist seam, and what I've done instead is sewn the waist seam to one side to create a channel and created buttonholes at the front for the drawstring to go through, and that's why it comes up with a little bow at the front like that. I really love the gold buttons that I've used down here, and I've even managed to match it with little gold toggles for the end of the drawstring too. I'm not normally this matchy. I normally don't have the, you know, patience. That is the word I'm looking for. I don't have the patience to wait to get things like this to match, but I just happened to have all these bits together and it worked a treat. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I hadn't quite realised at the time when I got this fabric how similar the base colour is to my skin tone though. So it's a very kind of nudie colour on me. And I have a little bit of a mixed feeling about how that looks. I think it looks great up close. And when you can see the floral pattern, because it's got these really lovely kind of neon yellow and pink floral print all over it. From afar, I do wonder how it comes across. Although, let's face it, I'm not looking at myself from afar, so who cares? So I hope you enjoyed that video. Up next, I've got all my separates that I've been making. So tops, bottoms, all that jazz. I hope you tune in to watch that one too. Thanks guys, bye bye.